All right, we're back to talk about Hijack Season 1 from Apple TV. This season originally came out in the summer of 2023. The show created by George K. Jim Field Smith. Season 1 has 7 episodes. We'll try to run through a recap of those fairly quickly. Season 1 of Hijack follows the flight of Kingdom Airlines 29 from Dubai to London after it's seized by hijackers. Focuses on Sam Nelson, played by Idris Elba, a corporate negotiator who uses his psychological and deal-making abilities to minimize some of the violence and work against the criminals on the plane. The takeover begins with the hijackers, led by someone named Stewart, forced away in the cockpit by threatening the pilot's mistress. On the ground, the British government learns the incident is orchestrated by the Cheapside firm, a crime organization. Their primary demand appears to be the release of 2 imprisoned leaders. As the fight progresses, another financial motive is revealed, known as a bear raid. This is something where news has been leaked about the hijacking to crash Kingdom Airlines stock, and they're betting against the shares to short it and make billions of dollars. In a twist, a passenger named Amanda, a former naval consultant, reveals herself as a sleeper agent for the organization. After the firm threatens her daughter's life, she shoots the pilot and barricades herself in the cockpit to ensure the plane crashes into London. Sam manages to persuade the other hijackers to stand down, eventually gains Amanda's trust by appealing for love for her daughter. With their fuel running out and the Air Force prepared to shoot down the plane, Sam and Amanda work with air traffic control to create and execute an emergency landing. After all the passengers evacuate, Sam returns to the cabin to retrieve a gift he got for his estranged wife, but he's confronted by Stewart, who has escaped his handcuffs. Sam outwits him by using his phone as a decoy. Got to use that Apple phone in the Apple TV show, leading to Stewart's arrest by an armed response team. So yes, basically Idris Elba, a savvy negotiator on a plane that's hijacked. 7 episodes of kind of nonstop action and intrigue, leading into a second season of which we've had a little bit about from a trailer. But you've recently watched this. What
Yeah.
initial impressions did you take away from this first season?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I worked through it really all in one evening,
Yeah.
which wasn't even really my intention. You know what I mean? Like I started watching the show and I just kept watching it and then got to the point where I had one episode left and it was 1 a.m. or something. And I said, well, let's
Yeah.
just finish this tonight. I'm not gonna wait until um one one note about your summary, and this is minor, I think, but the way it goes, right, is that they're threatening Amanda's daughter, but the original plan is that she's going to get a message to land the plane safely, right? The
Yes, there was
original,
this, yeah, this promise that she'll be safe if you crash it. If not, we'll kill her. I think that's right. Do I have that backwards?
yeah, this is, I mean, sorry to jump to this immediately, but um, there is something to parse out that might be relevant to season two. I don't know. That's my biggest question is to what extent season two will relate to season one. And I'm sure we'll talk
Yes.
about that more as we proceed here.
Yes.
But this is one aspect of it where what we learn after this, shocking moment where all of a sudden she stands up, shoots the pilot in the head, takes over the plane. What we ultimately learn is that she, like others, is being coerced because they're threatening her daughter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, at the same time, on the ground, they've let these two leader guys out of prison, John and Edgar,
Yes.
right? And they're trying to slow play it in a way where they'll be able to recapture them. They don't recapture them,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
then the last we see of them, Edgar is like trying to run up the score in terms of how much money they're getting, and
Yeah.
John's getting upset about that. So it does seem like the original plan, and Amanda is waiting for a message to land the plane, right?
Right.
Like, okay, we're done. You can land the plane in the airport, right? So it definitely seems to me that the original plan was to do that as opposed to crashing the plane.
Yeah.
But then Edgar starts going off on, well, let's just go ahead and let the plane crash. We'll make even more money or something like that. That was how I was putting it together.
Right. They keep talking about that idea of the better outcome for the organization is the worst outcome for the worst outcome for the airline is the best outcome for the organization that's trying to do this.
Right. So this is one thing I'm curious about. We have this criminal organization, Sheepside firm. Okay, fine.
Yeah, great,
Um,
great name.
and so yeah, their plan with hijacking the plane ultimately has to do with making money, right? As you mentioned, right?
No.
They also seem to operate largely by forcing people to do things by like threatening their loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it seems that their general MO is to kill the loved ones and the people anyway.
Yeah, I mean this is a tale as old as time. I mean, yeah, I don't know why this was a shock to anybody in this show.
Yeah. So with Amanda, Sam tells her that ultimately as he's trying to, get her to land the plane successfully, ultimately, of course. But we don't know if her daughter has been killed.
I'm glad you're bringing this up. This is the major question coming out of season one, and whether it's relevant to this new season or not. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, my impression is they're this. I don't know. We know how old her daughter is, but they're killing this young woman, no matter what. And she lands and saves all these people, which obviously is heroic. But I, I have to assume it was at the expense of her daughter, no matter what she was going to do.
I get that. I mean, but we never even like see her daughter
We
in the
never,
flesh in the show,
never,
right?
no.
We're also, a related question since we've started with Amanda is they tell her that if she lands the plane safely and everything, well, no, like, we understand that you're being coerced and manipulated and whatever, and you'll go free. Don't worry, we're not going to arrest you. Um, I kind of go bullshit on that.
I
Like,
I do too. You just straight shot a pilot in the head right in the middle of 35 witnesses.
but this is why it's interesting that they're, in part, it's interesting that they're even making season two, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I know part of that is that the show was successful enough and people watched it and so on and
yeah.
so forth. And people will watch season two, and television's a business and all of that. In terms of the story, you could have left it where the end of season one leaves us.
Hmm.
And I don't know that we would have worried about any of these questions all that much, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's not clear that she does go away and get off scot free. You know what I mean?
Right,
It would
right.
make sense to tell her that she will because you want her to land the plane,
Exactly right. Yeah,
um, and then arrest her. I got to assume you got to at least like arrest her.
yeah.
So
She ha she has to, at least for appearance's sake or for public perception, be taken into custody, because then it come out that the pilot was shot and killed by someone, and this is almost the person who crashed this plane. Yeah, you have to do something. I mean, this is n national news, obviously.
you would think. So is she even in season two? Is this a thread that they pick up on at all? I don't know. We of course know that our main character, Sam, is in season
Hmm.
two with
Yeah,
Idris Elba. There's some similar questions around him, though, I think. You know, the cleaner guys are waiting for him at his house.
correct.
And of course, it turns out his son's there and he's hiding and all of that, right? Ultimately, boyfriend guy, I should have made a note of his name. What's his name? Do you remember his name?
No,
Um,
no.
it's like Sam's ex-wife's new boyfriend. He's a main character in the show. He's going to be in the show more too. Anyway,
Yeah, the one that
um,
figures out that his son's in trouble. Yeah.
yeah, he gets the son out of it, and it would seem that those quote unquote cleaners are arrested.
Yes.
I would presume, given what we've learned about this criminal organization, that they aren't the only two guys who do things like this.
That's right. Yeah.
So, is there going to be some threat from them to Sam or to Sam's family? Is something I find myself wondering in terms of what happens in season two.
Yeah, this is, I think, the fundamental question as you go into the season, because whether it's Speed 2 or Die Hard 2, it's just can this guy be caught in a situation like this again? Really? Just right after this happened once before, but it seems as though they're pushing towards a someone is pursuing someone, perhaps it's pursuing Sam and out for some kind of revenge, or there is something, some intentional thing for him or for his family, and not just a, oops, I stumbled on the wrong train again. I got to get out of
Yeah.
this predicament.
No, I'm imagining it has to be like one of these two possibilities, which are
Yeah.
relatively close together, right? Either they are threatening his family again in order to
Hmm.
make him do something,
Yep.
or he is um, upset, feels like too light of a term, but something,
Yeah.
upset about the fact that they threatened his family before. So he's not done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we landed the plane safely and all of that, but I've got to take down this criminal organization or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's how we're going. Um, a related question: there's some indications in season one that the authorities are suspicious of Sam, and kind of in particular, something that felt a little wonky in that season finale where it seems like they are targeting him as a suspect, but then it doesn't play out that way. I don't know. Do you know what I
No,
mean? What are your
it
thoughts on
is
that?
odd because yeah, by the time you get to the very end of that finale, he is, he's confronted again by Stewart on the plane, the armed, the military, whoever's down that's going to storm the plane. They've been told that the other hijacker is still on board, and he just gets to get up and walk away, while they take down Stewart. Now, maybe they had more information about that, but by the time we get to the end, I mean, he's just like, I could do whatever I want. There's no way you'll suspect me of this. But it does seem like maybe just in the heat of all that's going on there, he does at some point become a person of interest, maybe until he starts working with air traffic control and he's sort of their line of communication. But it does sort of lean that way for a little bit.
Yeah, and from the season two trailer, I think something along those lines is going to be at play,
Hmm.
where at least our you know, the authorities or whatever term we use are going to be somewhat suspicious of whatever he's doing.
Yeah, yeah.
That seems apparent. So I don't think that the plot's going to involve him working against a cheap side firm, you know, um, on the behest of the government. Like that
Right.
doesn't seem to be the
Exactly.
setup at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is a mention at one point in season one of a connection between this criminal organization and trains.
Okay. I had missed this, so I'm curious what you found out about this.
Yeah, I think it maybe it stood out to me more because I was already aware that season two was going to involve a train.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's a relatively brief mention, but at some point, someone says that even like the big thing that they do um, pertains to the train system and entry points into the UK and so on. Not the trains, but controlling the tracks, points of entry for smuggling, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. You know, so they've already indicated that there's some connection there. Maybe I'm jumping to a conclusion a little bit, but I presume they're going to remain the bad guys in season two,
I would
and
think there
that'll
have to
be
be
a
some
connecting
some
thread.
kind of connection, yeah, to this because of the residual, leftover, not just trauma, but what they did to his family, how they pursued hijacking this plane in the first season. I think we know from the trailer that the train he's on at least originates in Berlin, and so there's a sense of yeah, how widespread does this go? And so I think they're maybe building out this this syndicate or this organization that they're maybe you're gonna try to explore more about who they are.
Yeah, and of course we see them in season one operating in Dubai.
Hmm.
Um, so they've definitely got whatever global tentacles going on
Yeah.
there. The other aspect of the hijack in season one, or even the initial thing, is their demand for the release of these two guys,
Hmm.
John and Edgar, where the British government decides they're going to play along and then ultimately try to recapture them. Already mentioned this briefly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there are presumably other powerful figures in this organization. in season one, this includes the guy who leaks the story about the hijack
Correct. Yep.
to the journalist. His name's Devlin or something like that. He might be back involved. Um, but one thing that I found myself intrigued by that's something of a dangling thread is that it would seem that John and Edgar get away. They manage to elude the people who are following them and they're trying to track them and things like that. But they
Hmm.
manage to like switch cars or whatever, and who knows. Um, but the ultimately John kills Edgar or has his henchman guy kill Edgar.
Right.
And then that's just kind of left there, right? That's
Yeah.
we don't go back to them. Um, it doesn't seem, I mean, I guess part of my question is why does he do that? Because prior to this, he wants Edgar to stop, stop shorting the stock or whatever. It's like, let's get
Yeah.
on with it. Go ahead. We made enough money. Go ahead and tell her to land the plane. We're done. Right. But that's not why he kills him. Right. Because after he kills him, he doesn't like pick up his phone to send a text message to Amanda. It's like
Yeah.
he doesn't even really care about that. And there are indications that he planned on killing him anyway. Because what he says to the other guy is something like, we're going to have to do this sooner than we planned.
Yeah. I think that there's a sense there of, and this is why I would anticipate that John is the one who did the killing. So John would show back up here in season two. There's a sense of, we're supposed to get to these people. He's picked back up. He's resumed some kind of role within the organization, but it almost seems like I don't know how John and Edgar would have gotten involved in this plan from the beginning, but that the whole stock shorting thing was, a little bit of not a decoy overall, decoy for them, or to sort of have them play a role while something else goes on in the background. But John seems to be the only one who's in on it.
Yeah. Or is it just like a power play in the
Yeah,
organization or whatever that John's saying, I'm going to take this opportunity to become the head guy? Because
yeah.
the more the focus is on Edgar to where it feels like he is the head guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I
He
don't know.
seems to be the one making the call about when or when they don't stop shorting the stock or when they sort of pull the plug on that.
Yeah. Right. And he's the one talking to the authorities and all of
Yeah,
that and
yeah,
um ordering the murders on the plane. There's another, not trying to complain about the show, but there is something a little bumpy that he's demanded that the hijackers on the plane kill another passenger,
mm-hmm.
and they don't. They're this is when they decide that they're going to fight back against the hijackers and all of
Yeah,
that. And in the midst of that power struggle, Amanda, goes to the bathroom real quick, gets her gun, shoots the pilot in the head, and takes over the plane. So you
yeah.
almost forget about the fact that there's this dangling thread that Edgar had asked them to send another corpse photo.
Yeah. Was it a sense of Sam telling them, listen, somebody's already dead. We can just send them the photo of the person who is dead. We don't have to kill somebody else. Or were they aware of that first person? I couldn't recall the timeline there.
No, that's what they do the first time,
Okay,
right?
the first time. Yeah.
The first time Edgar says, "Send me a picture of a dead body." Sam manages to get them to just take a picture of the woman that they'd already killed previously.
Yeah.
So you don't have to kill another person, right? But because the cops keep following them,
Yeah.
there is a second time when Edgar sends the message to Stewart on the plane that to kill someone else and send me another, corpse photo.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen, and the show just kind of forgets about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we do it seems now that you're saying this is sort of all of the Edgar plot points really lead to nowhere in the first season, which again maybe leads me to think that they'll lead to somewhere else in season two. They have taken down a lot of the quote unquote bad guys from season one. So who's left? Well, someone like Edgar is left to, be a part of this in some capacity.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about this organization, what we've learned about it, it does seem like so some of the hijackers are willing participants, I
Hmm.
guess, whereas others aren't. So even there, we learned that the organization killed Stewart's father, right, in the past.
Hmm.
So there's some indication that they're not necessarily entirely free to like leave the organization. Maybe
Yeah.
no one really is once you've gotten caught up in it. Regardless, they seem like more willing participants. And then what they'll do is um, coerce people.
Yes.
Is there a better word? I keep feeling like I want to say blackmail. That's not the right word, but
Not
like
exactly.
a word
Manipulate is
like
not
that,
right. Yeah.
you know?
Coerce sounds right because it's a sense of by nefarious means we're going to convince you to do something that you yeah otherwise would not do.
Yeah. I feel like there's a term that's on the tip of my tongue that I just can't find for this precise move of making you do something by holding a gun to your wife's head, kind of
Yeah,
thing. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But maybe not. Anyway, that they coerce people, that this is what they did with the woman working security at the airport in Dubai so that they could get the
Hmm.
guns on the plane. This is what they did with the guy on the plane who ultimately says that he approved their stock sale,
Yeah,
whatever thing.
he was the broker. Yeah, yeah. That was I'd forgotten about this upon rewatching the finale, and I just had a sort of a nitpick until I remember that part because if somebody pushes through a multi-billion-dollar short position on a stock these days, it's going to trigger all sorts of things that cause you to look into and shut down things until and figure out what it is. But I'd forgotten that they had somebody on the inside of that part of the transaction that had sort of authorized all of this.
Yeah, so they managed to get the plausibility enough there.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
things in this show are not super plausible when it comes down to it, but um, including the hijacking itself at this
Exactly.
point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it would at least be you're making a huge wager from the perspective of the hijackers
Yeah.
right there at the beginning, right? Because to my understanding, basically, since 9/11, you're not ever supposed to let anyone in the cockpit.
No, no, that's why they've been redesigned so that
Yeah.
is impossible from a captain's perspective. No matter what is happening, you land the plane safely. Yeah, simply, I think, international law now at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the details in terms of the law, but it seems like, yeah, I'm sure there are some laws there, and it
Yeah,
was at least established as a kind of consensus
yeah,
that you let them kill everyone on the plane potentially. You
hmm,
don't open the cockpit ever
yeah,
because you can't have another 9/11, right?
no, yeah.
Well,
The trolley problem of the 180 people on board or whatever is yeah can't result in another 3,000 or more than that. That's the calculus.
yeah. So the fact that they're able to do that, okay. I mean, it's not it's not totally implausible because you're still dealing
Yeah,
with human beings. You're threatening the pilot's mistress,
yeah.
but you're making a big gamble that that part's going to work.
Yeah, that that relationship is such that it would, I think your word is right. It would coerce him to do something otherwise would not. You're taking a huge gamble that there's enough of a relationship there for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard for any pilot, I'm sure, to stand firm while hijackers started killing everyone on the plane.
Yeah,
But that's like what you're supposed to do,
that's what you're
I
trained
guess,
and paid
right?
to do. Yeah,
Um, so yeah. Anyway, that has to happen for the show to happen, right?
that's right. That's right. And why? I'm just forgetting this now. Why is the broker who authorized? Why is he even on the plane? Was he just to get away and escape with the hijackers?
I'm not sure if they explained that.
Yeah, it's just like I'm gonna hitch a ride because I'm probably gonna get in trouble, so I might as well just go with you guys and try to get some of the share of the money.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Um, didn't he also say that they threatened his family and like killed his family though?
I think something about his father or something. Yeah,
So yeah, I'm not sure if they fully explained why he was on the plane. It'll be interesting going through season two with you here week to week
yeah.
and what stands out to us to talk about. Um, it is one of those things in season one where there are questions along the way, but they're resolved by the end. So sitting
Yeah.
here, kind of recapping the whole season, feels a little different than I'm sure it will in the coming weeks
Yeah.
as we go
We'll
episode by
we'll be able to
episode.
do a little bit of theorizing and whodunits and what what's going to be the twist and those types of things. It'll feel I think a little bit better week to week.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Anything else you want to hit on with regard to season one before we wrap
I,
up?
I think that's it. You're right. This is a sort of fun. We don't have many, just pure action shows anymore. Fun action binge that you can, catch up on really quick before this comes out a week from today.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right. So thanks always for listening. Enjoy the podcast. Please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it. Check out tvobsessive.com. You can find written work on all sorts of TV, past, present, and future. And we'll be back next week here on the podcast talking about Hijack season two.
All right, looking forward to it. We will see you then.